What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Elevate Your Grind, brought to you by the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales, and it is lovely to be here on this Friday afternoon. Of course, by the time you watch it, it won't be Friday afternoon, so it's lovely to be here whenever you decide to sit down and watch it. Of course, if you're watching our video, please like and subscribe. If you want to check out any of the other videos that we have, you can check those out at www.youtube.com/elevateyourgrind, but you're probably watching this on YouTube already. If you don't want to watch it, you can listen to it anywhere you find your podcast: Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, etc. For anything C-Lab coming up, remember we have our High Seas event on July 11th at the Marseille Hotel in Miami, Florida. That is our cannabis-friendly fashion show for Miami Swim Week. We have all of our chapter events for the Tampa, Orlando, Broward, and Dade chapter on July 20th. You can check any of those out on Eventbrite/Cannabis Lab or go to joinclab.com. All right. Today's guest is an old friend of the show. He was back on the show. Oh, man, these are beginning of the pandemic times. I want to say like April of 2020. Been a while. He's been doing his thing since then, and I've been to a bunch of his events, and I'm really excited to talk to them. So please welcome from Farechild, David Tran and James Zachodni. Did I get that, James?
Perfect, nailed it.
He made me put the in there.
Of course he did.
He made me put the in there.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it, Todd.
David, it is a pleasure to have you back. You're on one of the first episodes of the show. Some reason I'm still stuck here. I'm still doing it, but you guys are doing your thing. There is not a conference that I go to, at least a major one or an important one, that I don't see a Farechild event attached to. To me now, it's just like, if you're going to throw a major conference that's pulling people from across the country, it's got to be tag team with a Farechild event. Is that really the strategy that you guys have?
Well, appreciate it, Todd. Yeah, we do that by design, and we've been doing that since Dope Magazine. We feel like to be a part of the community, you just have to be there and participate. So when we were talking, we were just starting Farechild. So starting an event company, during the pandemic was absolutely a challenge. But, we took every opportunity over the last 3 years to continue to connect, to be a part of the community, to create really impactful events with really, cool partners around, like you mentioned, different expos. We've had good relationships with them, and it's worked out where we're able to work with them to create the extended experience, I call it, with our after parties after people go to their expos. So it's been quite a journey, and we're excited to still be in it.
Yeah, man. It's awesome because it's funny, Well, I want to kind of go back, right? One of the things that I think you guys did really well, and I think is really cool, is you built your company and exited, and now you're doing it again. So, what is that like to have been a pioneer in the cannabis space with Dope Magazine, kind of had your success before anybody else, before the industry was huge, while it's still, relatively underground. And then now it's like you get, you had your swan song, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, this industry is just getting bigger. Let's go do this again. What is that experience like, having, as they say, been there, done that, got the t-shirt? How is it going and starting from scratch again to do Farechild? Because, it seems to be working out for you.
Go on, James.
I think it's, Dave always says that, our 8 years or so we ran Dope Magazine was sort of our education, college experience, to really learn and understand and make the networking and the connections that we kind of are fortunate to have now. Because without those, early years and, being kind of, in the forefront of the first wave of sort of, new businesses around cannabis, I think it's set us up now to, be looked upon as, some of the OGs within this time period that happened. And so I think definitely the experience that we got from Dope and from those days of running Dope, and, just it's been invaluable to our success with Farechild. And I think, looking back now, it's really kind of taught us, the do's and the don'ts, right? You learn as you go. We didn't do everything perfect. We didn't, we learned a lot along the way, made a lot of mistakes, but we also made a lot of good choices too. And I think leaning into events, specifically, cannabis related events, was probably the smartest thing we did during our dope days, because it really showed us what the industry lacked, what they were looking for, kind of what the landscape was for events back then, which is very very ground level, let's say, at that time. So we definitely, just kind of took that as a great learning experience, an 8-year education, and took it to what we do now. So I think, Dave and I have never lost the passion for bringing people together, and for, creating that sense of community, and really giving our community something to look forward to. I think is really kind of our main objective every time we put on an event.
Yeah, man. The one thing I want to commend you guys on as far as cannabis events goes, and for anybody who hasn't been to a Fairchild event, is, when I first joined the industry, a lot of like after parties or big like cannabis parties, they were very, and I don't know if people eviscerate me for this, but very stonery. Like they were very weed heavy, and like I love weed as much as the next guy. Smoke 2 joints a day at the very minimum, but at the end of the day, like I said this on my interview with Ted from Alien Labs, I feel like I'm just a normal dude who likes weed. Like weed's not my entire personality. I love talking about it, I love talking about the industry, but like I have other interests. I don't love being, I love smoking a joint. I don't love being in a room that's just so filled with smoke that you come out like, I will tell you, most of the early consumption lounges I went to that were attached to a dispensary, I remember being excited to go there, and it was really just a dingy room with glass that you could borrow, or you can consume your products in there, and it was just not an overall enjoyable experience. I remember on certain due diligence trips looking at my team and being like, can we just go back to the Airbnb and smoke? Like, this is fucking depressing. You go to a Fairchild event and you have a mix of people there from, OGs in the industry, very big cannabis community, people from the culture, as well as accounting firms and lawyers. And like, it's crazy to me when I hear the heads of cannabis practices at law firms being like, asking me like, yo, can you get me into the Fairchild event? I'm like, really? Like, you wouldn't think that a party like this would be somewhere where a lawyer in his suit and tie would want to come to try to do some business, or at least unwind.
Yeah, and when our background, when how we met each other was in the hospitality industry, was in the bar industry, and we created these experiences every time me and him got together to do that in the nightclub world. And when we started Dope Magazine, we asked ourselves, why can't it have the same level? And we thought the same thing as you did. It was, there was, it was underground, and it was dingy, and that was the culture. And to me, that's where I came from, so I still love that aspect of it. But why not bring that other aspect to it? And through the years, we've created so many different events with that in mind. It's like, how can we be inclusive of everyone? Because to me, the cannabis demographics is just so vast. It's the stoner, but it's also, like you said, the professional that loves cannabis. How
Yeah.
can we mix those things together? And certainly when we do throw events, we keep that in mind. Uh, Always, we have a lot of people to cater to, the sponsors who are supporting our events and their expectations, and certainly the audience who comes. And certainly, if you build any business, it's about having that word of mouth. I had a great experience, I'm coming back. I met the right person in there. So we really always focus a lot. While the production part is important, and James does this incredible job with creating this experience, it's continuing to build that network, and who is going to be there, how is that going to be really our focus. So we focus on the people, and people will continue to come. So that's been our motto, and every year we do a little bit bigger. We build a bigger audience, and as we do that, we're able to do bigger things and kind of move more into the not only a cannabis event, but here's an event that has cannabis in it, because that's where we're moving to at some point.
Yeah.
You can have the beer gardens, but you can't have the weed gardens, right? And we know nowadays there's a big shift in that, and so we keep that in mind every time we throw an event.
Dude, I give you two so much credit for that, because that, I don't think people understand how hard that is to make a party that can encompass such a large group of people with such diverse interests and backgrounds and realistically intentions for going, right? Recently, and I hate to call out my own friends, but I had a couple friends that threw a cannabis friendly comedy show down here, and there was a really cool pre-party. And I'll tell you, a lot of my, we'll call them civilian friends that are outside the industry, were hesitant to go because they just assumed that it was going to be a room filled with smoke. Right. And I will tell you, when you showed up and one of the rooms was filled with smoke, and I know that a lot of people that are not, very cannabis friendly, that have friends like me that consume significantly, they wouldn't have that great of a time there. They'd end up waiting outside, kind of socializing on their own. You guys have done a good job to not only cater to all types of cannabis consumers, but people who don't consume as well too, that just want to come and hang out with their own friends and enjoy it. And I think that's a testament to what you're trying to do, as far as these events are going to be events that are just cannabis friendly, meaning it's going to be a normal fucking event like anything else you've ever been to. I think we're after 5 minutes. I can drop an F-bomb. Yep. Okay, cool. That's a whole YouTube thing. If 5 minutes, if you curse, it's bad. But you know, we see, and we kind of touched on it before, we see this evolution of cannabis events, and we see this evolution of cannabis consumption allowance that's so focused on weed. And to me, that's such a niche opportunity, because, the community that's going to leave their house to go be social and smoke is not very large. That's just going to go socialize with other smokers. Where I would love to see society go is allowing weed into normal life, right? For me to be able to go to a comedy club, and just like someone, like, I'm fully aware a joint is invasive from a smoking standpoint, but if you give me a little patio or a section that I can go smoke and then go back into the club, I'm all for it. If there's a way that I can smoke inside the club, even better. I just know historically we've worked to take smoke out of places, but I just want to see weed integrated into everyday life. I don't need a special facility for me to go do that. I have a house. I have friends' houses. I have, although the legalities of it are questionable, public places, boats, beaches, So I love that you guys are working towards that. What is the goal? Is the goal just to start doing like concerts and parties and events that are just allow consumption in them along with
Yeah,
everything
well, we're
else?
trying to get it, our goal is always to get it from the underground to above ground. And the only way to do that is, you're working with a lot of venues who are still very much on the fence, right? Not every venue is open to having you consume in there. So we work against those hurdles also. But in order to take it out the underground and into the overground, you're marketing it, you're advertising it. That puts you in front of a lot of scrutinization by regulatory, groups. So it's super important for us to, it actually kind of works out for us where, the consumption part of it, you have to do it legally because you're marketing, you're advertising, and you're also setting an example for the industry, that you're following all of these
And
rules. So I
also, if you
think
want to take sponsorship dollars, they have to stay compliant. They can't sponsor you if you're not doing it above board.
yeah, that's right on target. And again, it doesn't help a sponsor if you're throwing a event that's not compliant and it shuts down, right? There's certainly we see a lot of that in Vegas, during MJ Biz, where everyone's like, you know what, we're gonna do a hotel party, and we're gonna invite 200 people, and all these people sponsor, and then next thing you really know, they're shut down. The sponsorship money doesn't go anywhere. You're not getting completely the right people. So I think there's this really certainly this fine line between that counterculture and doing it in a private place and doing it in the public.
The the thing I love about Fairchild is it just seems like such a natural follow-up to what you guys did at Dope Magazine. It's like Dope, you were getting, you like you said, getting the word out there and getting it from underground to above ground. With Dope Magazine, you had articles and copy in a magazine that was out there educating and promoting and bringing people and kind of, filling their heads with why this is so great and why they should be into it. And now you're bringing them into your world. So like you went through the education phase. It's like, hey, we educated you. Now come experience it, and come experience it the right way. So to me, it seems like such a natural progression of the two of your journeys, that You did education, now it's experience. And I feel like that's what you're really doing with Fairchild, is now bringing people into the fold. Like, you read our articles, we educated you, now come have fun.
I think we always used to use the term like the Trojan horse model, right? To usher in cannabis to places where typically it wouldn't get into. And this is really big back in, 2011, 2012, when we first started, was, how do we get our magazine on your grandma's coffee table, right? Without her being like, oh, what is this? Right. And
She needs something to roll her joints on. That's how.
she needs a rolling tray for sure. But again, if you put some, smutty cover with a half naked girl and a big bong on the cover, like, it's not going to work. Right. So when we started Dope, our mission was, let's try to make this something that anyone can pick up and read. And that's sort of our Trojan horse to get into people's hands, to make them actually like learn about cannabis. Because if not, they may not have ever, say, picked up a High Times or these other publications at the time that were a little bit more, weed porny versus what we were doing, which was, let's make it like a regular magazine. Let's make it like a GQ or a Esquire or something that you could pick up and read and be interested in different subject matters. So I think with Fairchild, we're kind of taking that same playbook in a sense, where we're producing these events that even if you're not in the weed industry, you could come in and be like, oh, this is a great party, just for what it is, right? Without the smoke and the dab bars and all the things. If you just come in, you have a good experience, it's a clean, it's a well ran, you could get in quick, everything is smooth, you got, everything is, just kind of on the up and up, like a typical like high-end party would be. Just happens to be that there's consumption going on too. And I think that's our way of kind of introducing weed to a lot of people that, like you said, your friends that never gone to a weed event, if they walked into a Fairchild event, we feel very confident that they would be like, hey, I had fun regardless if I smoked or not. Like, it was just a dope party because the atmosphere was great, the crowd was great, and all those things.
That's something I struggle with all the time because my wife doesn't consume. So there are a ton of events I want to take her to, and I kind of have to like look into it and see, like, are you going to enjoy this one? Or are you not going to enjoy this one because of that? Right. I would love to be able to take her to more, and I'd be confident bringing her to one of your events. And I mean, let's be honest, how many cannabis companies, especially in Vegas during MJ Biz, they're throwing their parties at fucking strip clubs. Like, it's, I get it. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying have fun, but that's not what's going to appeal to the general public. And it's not what's going to be a mass appeal to the audience. You guys literally take the same crowd that attends the conference, the same people that are there, the same people that, may not even go to parties when they're back home, but they are able to come. They feel safe. They have a great experience, and they're going to tell their friends about it. They're going to want to come back year after year. And they're not embarrassed also to go back to their bosses and say, hey, this event was great. We not only do I want to go back next year, I think we should sponsor it and get more involved. And that's, more and more what we'll call the suit and tie businesses I can see getting involved. Let's talk about the one you have coming up. So you guys have one coming up, if I read it correctly, July 19th, the High on Life 2 party in Vegas. If I recall correctly, are you guys throwing it at the hotel that just opened,
at the Lexi Hotel in Las Vegas, which got a lot of press for being a cannabis friendly hotel? And that's, let's be honest, that's why we're doing it there, because it's going to be friendly and into consumption, which we're excited about. The hotel itself is a boutique, so it's not super huge, but it's going to be about probably 1,000 to 1,500 people we're expecting at the event. Hosted by Ric Flair, as many of you know, the name. There you go.
Oh, you can't mention his name without doing that.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Impossible.
So we're excited to have him and the team out there. And then, of course, we have some other great sponsors joining us as well. But the event is really going to be an indoor, outdoor, poolside, / hotel takeover. So we basically buy out the whole hotel. Every room is booked with us, and we basically have different sponsors and activations in all the different penthouses and suites. And it's just a really fun kind of event where you kind of just get to kind of roam around and explore and see all the different things that are going on, and just interact with people. And it's following Champs. So it's the first day of Champs on Wednesday, July 19th. So it'll be the evening event after Champs, and we're excited, man. We're gonna have a great crowd, great turnout. Our partners, Canna Management Group, are always our buddies on our High on Life events. So we've partnered with them again to just make this another memorable night.
Sure. Do you guys kind of change your approach? So like Champs obviously is more cannabis atmosphere, like, it's more smoke shops and other products and everything else, versus your MJ Business, which is more, direct plant touching THC businesses. Do you guys kind of cater to each audience? Or is it just go back to the theory is you throw a great event that just includes weed in it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Champs does have a different crowd. They've been doing it since 1999. It's more counterculture. So I think overall, when you think about sponsors and what they're looking for certain people to connect with. So, Champs is certainly important part of that, where, we're going to be exhibiting there. We're going to be promoting to that crowd there. They usually typically get, they've gotten up to 20,000 people, and this is one of their big shows. So kudos to and shout out to Champs and Jeff for putting on such a great event that we can actually, come there and work with. But, it's the same process, it's just like, here we are buying out a whole hotel,
That's really cool.
creating this activation in hotel rooms in the penthouses. Sponsors will be taking over certain parts of the lawn, the penthouses, the different places. So as a guest, you get to walk through. We always have this really great moment when you walk through where it's very Instagrammable, and and of course, with Ric Flair being there, you expect a little bit of the wrestling vibe there, which I think is going to be absolutely fun. And to me, just creating that same atmosphere, good music, attracts a lot of different people. Like James says earlier, what aspects of the event allow just the general public to say that this is a cool event. And I think just music, design, activations, aha moments. At the Saguaro in Palm Springs, we had synchronized swimmers pop out and do, a show during the middle of that. So that was really fun. So there's certainly going to be a lot of surprises there. And, we look just forward to, just being down in Vegas and, throwing a really cool summer pool hotel party.
That's awesome, man. I'm sure that's going to be a great time. It really sounds like an amazing event. I know I've heard of some events that were thrown in. I'm going to get the name wrong, but the other one that they own in Arizona, I'm going to call it the Calderon, but I think it's wrong. And you see, it looks like a great time. The fact that you guys have the whole hotel to yourself, so it's not like you have other people in the venue that don't want to be there or might complain is cool. And I imagine if those companies are going to stay there for the entirety of Champs, it's going to be one hell of a place just to be for the whole event. When you guys, your parties are not small, and they're not small events, and they're not half-assed by any stretch of the imagination. When you guys are looking to do an event, what goes into it? What's the work that needs to be done? How do you plan it? Like, what is your process when it comes to throwing an event like the one you have coming up on the 19th?
It takes a lot of work that people really don't recognize, like producing a podcast, that's all the behind the scenes stuff. That is the grind. It's the real work. And, it comes down to, first and foremost, is there a need for the event? Right. And I think that's what we start with. And then from there, we kind of work backwards to, okay, what can we do to really kind of blow people's socks off, and how can we keep leveling up? And which has always been a tricky part for us, because we always kind of outdo ourselves, whether it's, having hot air balloons at parties, or, doing, you name it, like we kind of done it all. So every time we throw an event, we're always like, geez, man, what are we gonna do this time? So, it's kind of the boring stuff, like starting with budgets and that kind of stuff, and then working on then the fun stuff, which comes from that, which is, okay, what are the experiential moments we can give guests? Who are we targeting? What is our guest? Because, your party's only as good as the people that are there as well. You can have a fancy DJ and all the things and great food and stuff, but if the crowd is kind of lame, and, there's no one really there that you want to like interact with, or there's, just that energy that you need to bring a party to life. And we learned those lessons during our nightclub days, when, throwing a 3-4 day a week nightclub is tricky, to make every night pop, make everything exciting and fun. And, so, it's really just about kind of a culmination of everything. It's, getting the right, experiences for people, getting the right people, having the right venue that will cooperate with you to be able to kind of make these experiences come to life. Because like Dave said, regulation is always a big challenge, and just being able to smoke somewhere is always a key for us. And if you can't smoke, it's fine, but it's also one of those things where it's like you always kind of wish you could, if you're at an event that's sponsored by some sort of a cannabis company or brand. So we try to include that. But I think as the time goes on, as we learn more about our crowd and our just overall event sort of mindset, is smoking at an event is always great, but we could also have events where maybe there's not smoking, and it could still be just a great event for our industry, right? And I think that's something too that we look at as the future comes forward, and how do we continue to drive the industry forward? Because it's you think about all these other events and shows and stuff that happen, it's like, whether it's an alcohol, driven event, or it's like a sports driven event, it doesn't always lead with, whatever that industry is, right? It could just be a great event like we were talking about earlier. So really it's the planning, project management, the execution of everything, being on top of stuff, making sure your sponsors are happy, they're getting what you promised them, which is huge for us. Hey, if we say we're going to mention you in all these, press releases and, emails and social media blasts, like we do all that, we don't ever, take shortcuts or cut corners. So I think really it's planning, project management. Every event we do is months and months and months of planning before the actual event happens, which sometimes people lose sight of that. They think we all just show up and start, getting down. So that's not how it goes. There's a lot of boring behind the scenes stuff that happens too.
So I did events for a very short time at the beginning of my career in cannabis, and they're much more boring events than you guys did. They were investor focused events, kind of like Benzinga. But I remember, we did 4 events in a year, and I just remember working your ass off, getting everything you need done, everything falling apart within the last 2 weeks, trying to replace everything. I remember the last 2 weeks leading up to the event, I barely saw my family. I lived with my wife and I barely saw her. And then all of a sudden you do the event. I think we did our events on Thursdays and we would travel. And then I'd wake up the next morning on Friday. And like that Friday morning, that Friday and maybe the 2 subsequent weekend days after were the only time where I really got to enjoy myself and kind of celebrate the success of the event. Because come Monday, you walk into the office, all of a sudden you have another event coming up on the calendar and you don't have shit ready for it, right? You're starting from scratch. And it really does feel like that Saturday Night Live vibe where all of a sudden the show's over and you got to start working on the next episode already. I don't know. And I wish I can say that I've seen event companies that don't go through that cycle, but I think it always just ends up happening. Is that how you guys operate? Like, do you have a moment where you get to sit back, enjoy that the event's over, kind of bask in your glory, and then Monday it's back to work? How does that cycle work for you guys?
Well, it's usually we're overlapping events too. Like right now we're planning 3.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, we're planning 3 events simultaneously right now. Obviously, the one that's closest is going to be the most, kind of mine. But we got the MJs happening in end of November. We have a big after party in Detroit for MJ Unpacked. We're planning in October. We have this. We'll probably have one more in between there somewhere. So really it's juggling 14 balls at once and just making sure that none of them drop. And I think like you said, it's 5 months of work for 5 hours of indulgence. So it's kind of crazy
realizing how much goes into it, man.
Right? Yeah. And it's wild when you put it in that context of literally all this planning and work for literally like a small chunk of a day that you can actually see your whole world come to life, right, in one moment. But there's this weird, and with other event producers, is kind of this weird satisfaction you get from seeing it all come together and feeling the people having a good time, and just kind of everything clicking, all your little visions in your mind are coming to life, and you're just like, wow, that was really cool. And it's this high that you get when you're producing an event that you just it drives you to do the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah. No, I remember that Friday was like the greatest feeling in the world. It's like we did it, and then on Monday we walk in and you look at the board, it's like, we got 2 sponsors for this event. I guess that's a good start. Like shit. Really.
And you forget too that you actually have your core business. We have an event platform that we need to continue to improve and to be able to service other event producers that manage their tickets on our platform. And people forget, and we've always been known as the event producers, and for good reason, because we throw a lot of events, but that's also served the purpose of creating awareness of our platform, which is mainly a ticketing platform that manages. We know it's tough for event producers to use Eventbrite and other platforms because of the fact that the banking regulations still don't allow them to accept that money. So we found a bank that has been we've been working with for the last 3 years. They always make the payouts. Event producers can expect when they sell a ticket on our event that the fees are on par with every other platform, but at the same time too, you actually will get your money at the end of that. And for an event producer, those things matter. But you know, like you mentioned, you know, there's several balls that you're juggling. The events, you know, keep you going, build your brand, you know, market yourself. But on the other side, you know, on the tech side, we're trying to build another company. So you know, never rest, you know, in our game.
Never rest, man. Tell me a little bit more about the platform, because I did go to your website before we had the conversation, and you know, I know we had talked about the events that you're producing, and then obviously I go on your website and I see many more events. So tell me about, you know, the platform, what the intentions are, and how people can leverage it, because you're 100% right. With all the issues in cannabis, like collecting money is a giant pain in the ass. It's literally what we do at Green Check, is we make sure people can get banked and do it transparently. And you know, it's not an easy thing to do. So tell me about the platform that you're building on, because I'm on it. It looks like there's a lot of great events coming up, like literally almost every day there's something somewhere.
Yeah, we've been building this, you know, during the pandemic, which kind of was a blessing, but also a burden. Obviously, not being able to throw live events during that time was tough for a brand new event company. But we spent that time wisely, and we built out this platform from scratch. You know, we you know, really wanted to serve our community of event producers in cannabis, but then also, you know, really solve a problem that a lot of them were having when they were using, you know, the more traditional platforms to sell tickets and such, which, you know, still to this day, events are getting shut down all the time if they, you know, are, you know, have any words in their description that, you know, flag the bots and stuff on these platforms. So we, you know, we decided, hey, let's solve a problem, you know, with our platform, and let's create a ticketing platform where people can list their cannabis events and feel good about it, and but still have the technology and the bells and whistles that you would get from the more traditional Eventbrites and Ticketmasters and those guys of the world. So Farechild was born for that reason. And of course, you know, that's, like Dave said, it serves one side of our business of, you know, having a toolkit for event producers to use to throw, you know, cannabis events. And then on the other side, of course, is our event production side. But, you know, I think we've done a pretty good job over the last year and a half. We've, you know, had hundreds and hundreds of events use our platform, and, you know, every day we're improving it. We're adding new features. We're, you know, creating this community and this great database of, you know, people that are interested in cannabis events. So I think overall, you know, I think our future, you know, why we're going to always, you know, probably continue to produce events and continue that, you know, tradition of Farechild events. I think, you know, this obviously is a big part of our future, and what we, you know, see as a big building block for, you know, cannabis events as we move forward. And I do think that, you know, we all see the day when federal legalization happens and banking compliance changes and all those things happen. But, you know, it's like, who's to say that these other, you know, legacy companies like Eventbrite aren't going to have this community behind them, like what we've been building for years and years to, you know, really cater to our, you know, our fellow cannabis enthusiasts. So I think we're definitely positioning ourselves well with this platform, and I hope everyone, you know, checks it out. And if you do throw cannabis events, we would love to host you and have you on our platform.
Dude, the event, the event. The platform is great. Like literally, I just started clicking through events. It's super user friendly. The information's great. It displays it great. Very similar look and feel to Eventbrite. So it's familial to a lot of people. I got to stop using my word of the day calendar words. You know, how do people work with you? Is it open source? Can anyone create and advertise their event on there? Do they sign up, create an account? How do folks, because I know a lot of people here in Florida that are looking to do more and more cannabis events, and I would love to direct them to you because they do have problems with Eventbrite. So how does an event producer work with you?
Just jump on, create an account, create a promoter account, and you can start creating an event right away. We tried to make it simple. Obviously, we being event producers ourselves, we're like, okay, how can we make this like as dumbed down and simple as possible? So we created like a 4-step, boom, your event's live, basically.
Nice.
So as you go through the process of creating your event, and you know, we thought about all the like things that always, you know, angered us, and we were trying to use platforms to post events on was, you know, oh my gosh, I got to have different graphic sizes, and I got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, trying to find some of the features is like going through like digging through a, you know, freaking, you know, haystack for a needle. Cause you like, how do I, you know, add a custom URL like it? So we just tried to really make the user experience very simple. And, you know, and like I said, features are continuing to be added as we talk to more and more event producers that are out there. And like you said, we have a specific event, you know, a niche that is unique to cannabis, which having privacy features, right? Having things like that where the event isn't blasted on the page, or you want to keep it private, or you want to make your tickets locked so anyone can't go on and buy tickets. They have to have passwords and little things like that that are really specific to kind of the cannabis world, as far as, people are still, producing events in states that may not be fully legal yet, and they want to kind of keep certain things private, make it a, invite only type of event. So we've added features like that to help out with those types of cannabis specific, issues.
It'd be cool as shit, and I'm sure you guys are probably working on this. And if you're not, just steal my idea. Like when you do events with MJ, like when we go to MJ Impact, we go to MJ Biz. There's always the Farechild event that's on a certain day, and everyone plans around that. But there's always little events, ancillary events that different companies, law firms want to throw, accounting firms, companies like Green Check, brands are going to want to throw. And it's like it is a work to figure out what events are being thrown, where they're being thrown, what you can go to, what you can't go to. I would love the ability to go on to Fairchild and say, okay, I'm going to MJ Biz. What's going on there? Or even if it's not that you're going to tell me everything that's going on, like a way for me to manage all the events that I do plan on going to in a single platform. Like, and I can definitely see you guys being the stewards of doing this because you have the relationship with these big events, and to help promote all the other ancillary little satellite events. I can definitely see you guys being the central hub for that.
Todd, you're right on target with where we want to go with this. With the other issue that we saw with
like every industry needs that, by the way, not just us.
Yes, I totally agree. And to me, nightclub, they have those places where, hey, if I want to go somewhere, I can go there. There's no centralized place. And the interesting part about cannabis is there really is no centralized place you can go where if I land in Seattle, I can look up all the Seattle events. And I think as we develop it, we want it to be very intuitive. We want it to cater towards people. One of the things that we mentioned was we love the Netflix concept where as I get to know what events you like to go to, I can cater it locally to you, to what niche you like to go to. And the great part is that you don't have to really sell a ticket for money to jump on our platform. It's completely free to do painting parties, small little get-togethers, just to manage your event itself. Send emails to your guests, the day before, know before you go. And if you need to change anything, you could do it. And again, it's so easy to utilize and communicate with your guests that you don't have to sell a ticket. You can literally give one away for free if you want to. And I think that is the main overall goal, is how do we get the community to create their events here, be able to share it with very specific people who are going, searching for very specific cannabis events. And, it's a good idea. Great minds think alike. I think, as we build version 1 and version 2, we move on to version 3 and 4. And, not only are there going to be more features for event producers, there's just going to be more options for event attendees to manage their events and what they like to do.
Dude, it's awesome. I'm a big fan. The problem is I'm not listening to you because I keep looking at all the events. Oh man, I see freaking Ricky in one of the pictures. That's funny. Yeah, dude, the event, the page is great. I think you guys have done a great job. I want to talk to you. I know you have 2 more events coming up after the July 19th one. Tell us about those events, because I know with our little power outage, we're getting close on time here. So
yeah, I'll talk about the MJ Unpack event. I'll let him talk about the MJs. But we've just recently got off a event over in New York with MJ Impact. As you know, MJ Impact has been doing some very specific expos in regards to operators and brands, and they found their niche and have done well. And George Jage, we worked with him as he was on the executive team at Dope Magazine. So his next event is in Detroit. We're going to be there in October. Found a great venue. As you know, Michigan is very open to these events, and they're very progressive in the way they've allowed different brands to activate there. Those regulations aren't necessarily there, and we know that because we've also thrown posted a festival just recently, Spark in the Park, where they've sold thousands of tickets at an average of 100, 200, and was able to manage it through our website already. So we're pretty excited about that. As you know, Detroit is a big market, one of the big markets in the world. And frankly, like any other expo, there's a need for expos to extend the experience for their consumers. You know, once you take off the suit and tie, certainly, you know, the place where relationships are made and real connections are made are during the events. And, you know, we found that over the last 8 years that simply is the truth. People are in town already. They are looking to connect. How do we facilitate that? And so we're going to create a pretty cool event there. And, you know, if you're either from Detroit looking to, you know, market your local hyper local company, or if you're a big commercial ancillary company looking to build within that market, it's just a great place to, again, meet the right people, very niche down, very catered down. You're not just blasting it out to a big group of people. You're there and you can use the event to really bring the people that you really want there. Let us throw the incredible experience and party. You bring the people and blow their socks off. And that's really been our mentality. So that's coming up in Detroit.
Dude, I'm excited about that because I've experienced the Fairchild life in Las Vegas. You guys crush Vegas. You do a great event there. I'm very excited to see the flavor you bring to Michigan. I'm a big fan of that market. I got a lot of friends there, so I'm pumped for that one. And then tell me about the MJs.
Yeah, so the MJs were kind of something that we've been thinking about for a long time. So back in Dope Magazine days, we threw our first award show, and this isn't your cup, you know, we did the Dope Cups and we did the, you know, the kind of cannabis product facing awards, but this is more of your kind of business, you know, ancillary business, you know, your awards that you give to people and stuff, and not awarding strains and products. So we created the Dope Industry Awards back in 2012 when we first, you know, started Dope, and we, you know, did it for about 4 years, actually 5 years leading up to when we exited from Dope. We did it in multiple markets all over the country. And, you know, it was just a great, you know, red carpet, black tie, get dressed up, come out, you know, just one of those nights where you don't get too many of those in our industry, as we're all aware of. So it was always a great night, always one of our most, you know, kind of coveted events of the year. So when we started Fairchild, you know, we always kind of have that in the back of our mind, is like, you know, we love to do an award show, but we wanted to make sure that we do it sort of like properly, right? We weren't just going to kind of slapstick something together and assume people would care, right? Because I think with awards specifically, you got to have some credibility behind it, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to win an award from some Joe Schmo that, you know, is just giving out awards just for the sake of giving out an award. We wanted to have some, you know, some clout. So when you have that award on your, you know, on your, your bookshelf or whatever, you can say like, wow, you won an MJ, you know, there you go. So that's important to us. So we waited for the right timing, and, you know, we've been doing the MJ Biz Awards the after parties for years and years and years with Dope. I think 8 years in now, if you include the, you know, the 5 or 6 years we did it with Dope, and we did it 3 years in a row with Fairchild. It was time to evolve. You know, it was just time, like the after parties were great. People love them. But I think we were kind of at that point where we're like, how can, like I said earlier, how can we level up, right? How can we take what we've created and this great crowd that we've curated over all these years, and how do we do something bigger and even more, I guess, impactful for the industry? So we just kind of blindly reached out to MJ Biz, and we're like, hey guys, we got an idea. And they've known of our parties. They obviously are, you know, kind of already were sort of playing around with the idea of doing something official with us. But we presented them a really well thought out, well kind of, you know, just planned award show, and they're like, we love it. You know, they basically were just like, it didn't really take any much thought. It was literally like, they're like, we think this is great, we want to do this. And of course, you know, we went back and forth hashing out details and stuff, but we formed a legit partnership with them on this award show. So they're fully on board with the partnership. They're marketing it, they're selling it, they're part of, you know, putting the judging committee together. They're really involved. So there's definitely, it's not just a, you know, a fancy, you know, media partner. It's literally like they are part of our event. So we're excited to produce this. It's going to be on November 30th, which is the Thursday night of MJ Biz, which is when we typically do our after parties, which is the Thursday night. And we're doing it at the Palms at the Pearl Theater, which is amazing theater. I mean, you name it, who's plays there, Rod Stewart, you know, the whole gamut of like big names there. It's about 2,400 seated theater, beautiful, massive, you know, 60-foot stage. It's going to be really like one of those nights where everyone in the industry is going to be like, wow, we kind of made it, you know, like this is going to be that like, okay, we're here, you know, we're doing this, like we're kind of a real a real thing now with this award show. So we're excited to present this for our industry and really, award some of those companies that don't always get the recognition, some of the companies that are, a little bit behind the scenes that kind of do the grunt work, the accountants and the lawyers and the marketing firms and these types of companies that have always been there.
Oh.
Yes. Everyone, we're trying to cater to as many as we can. We've gotten a lot of emails from people who are like, hey, how come you haven't, had this category or that category? And we always tell them, hey, it's coming. This is our first year. Let us kind of get this under our belts, and we'll add more categories as the event grows year after year. But we're excited, and we still are doing an after party afterwards. So it's going to be still at the Palms in the Chaos Event Center next door. So it's not going to be you have to travel across town to go to the after party. You literally walk across the hotel and you're at the after party. So we'll still have a big, multi thousands of people after party following the award show. But yeah, we're really excited for the award show. I mean, you can see all the nominations right now. We've had over 2,500 nomination forms filled out already, which exceeds our expectations like by leaps and bounds. We're so excited that people are excited for this award show, and we're really just ready to kind of take it to the next level and put all of our years of experience and our network and everything up for everyone to enjoy.
Sorry, I'm in the process of nominating myself for podcasting.
Yep.
Nice.
How many more times do I need to have you guys on to win?
And I think the great part about creating an award show like this is making sure it's legitimate, fair and equitable group of leaders who also take part in creating the winner of it. And certainly if you're nominated with that, I think everyone says this, but if you're nominated, you know what I mean, and you're recognized, I think that's just a huge step already. And if you win, that's incredible. And for us, it's just let's recognize folks. There's not enough. We created award shows starting in 2012. So we've been, we felt the importance of recognizing these companies. Companies need more recognition so that they can, build upon the hard work that they've done, the well-deserved recognition they got. So I think just carrying on that tradition on just a bigger level, I think is exciting. And, we can't wait for the production part of it. And, as we alluded earlier, I don't think there's any bigger events than when the Palms calls you and says, you know what, we know you're a cannabis company. We want to work with you. And, when you walk the space, it's really unreal. It's like, this is the biggest venue we've ever worked at. And for it to be a gaming venue like the Palms, it really is going to be groundbreaking.
Dude, that's awesome. I love the fact that you guys said it was black tie too. Listen, I'm all for wearing t-shirts and jeans to half the events we go to, but to get everybody all fancied up for this, I think it's gonna be a great event. I hopefully will be nominated for podcast of the year, but I'm excited to hopefully attend for MJ Viz, man. I think it's gonna be a great event. I think this industry needs a real award show that has credibility to it, and I'm pumped. I'm really excited for the things you guys are doing. I'm glad to be in the industry. I'm glad to be going to the events that you're doing, the after parties for, and just really being part of those events. And I'm excited to experience it. I know the tail half of the year is going to be very crazy for you guys.
Well, you're always invited, Todd, and we're super excited. And again, just to tail on that, it doesn't matter if you're a bud tender or the CEO of a huge company. For us, everyone's important. We take the time to make sure that everyone is included. I shake everyone's hands year after year, and that's really where we build that community and build that real kinship with Farechild, is that we take the time to make sure that everybody from top to bottom, because everyone's been there before they got there. And I just think that creating a space where it isn't like, hey, it's pay to play or you have to be a certain level of person, that to me is, is we know how it feels to be on the other side. And, we're not even on the other side yet. So we continue to work hard, and, we want to support all those folks. And that's how you really connect that counterculture with the business culture and kind of create this really safe space in between that both people feel good about.
No, I think the two of you have been great stewards of the industry, bringing it mainstream, making sure everybody feels included, making sure that everyone feels involved. You know, one of the things I talk to a lot of folks about is some of my issues with legacy folks or just true people that are in the culture is they act like those people that they were fans of a band when the band first came together, and then all of a sudden 5 years later that band blows up on YouTube and they're like, fuck you, I liked them 5 years ago before they were popular. It's like, well, cool, I like them now, we should bond over it, don't hate me because all of a sudden I like your band now, right? You guys have never had that attitude. Your attitude has always been, this is something I love and I want to share it with everybody, and if you love it, great, if you don't, that's fine, you know. But you guys have always come from a place of love and acceptance, and you know, I'm very happy to have people like you in the industry for that. I mean that.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it.
Great band analogy. Hopefully we're the Keith Richards and, you know, Mick Jagger of the weed industry, and we last as long as we can here. We're still kicking.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know we lost a little time due to the power outage, but before you guys kick off, before you guys get too busy at the end of the year, let's maybe have you guys back in early September so we can promote some of the other events. But I'd love to do this again.
We appreciate Cannabis Lab for all the hard work that you guys do, and love the shows there. I got to host a panel, one of my first ones, which was completely just so memorable there. So continue the good work yourself. So thanks a lot, Todd.
Appreciate it, guys. Well, yeah, let's give out all the social handles, the websites, and everything else before I let you guys go.
Cool. You can find us pretty much anywhere at the Farechild, and Fairchild's Farechild. Instagram, Facebook, all the fun stuff. And
Threads?
What was that?
On Threads?
No, not on Threads yet, man. I know. I got to look into
It's
this.
2 days old. What's taking you guys so long?
I know everyone's on this dang thing, but we'll take a look. We're old school too, so we try to keep our social stuff focused as much as possible. But you know, also for the MJs, if you want to nominate somebody or you want to check it out, just go to the MJs, EMJAYS, so themjs.com, and nominations close at the end of July. So get your nominations in for your favorites on there. And if you want to ticket with us or have your event listed on our platform, it's just farechild.com, and jump on, free to use it, and list away. Love to have you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today.
You're welcome,
Yep.
man.
Thanks a lot, Todd. Appreciate you, man.
And thank you to everybody at home for watching. This has been another episode of Elevate Your Grind. Of course, if you missed any part of this episode, you'd like to watch it again, you can check it out at youtube.com/elevate your grind. If you want to listen to the audio, you can check that out on Apple and Spotify. Let's be honest, nobody really uses those other platforms. Anything Cannabis Lab related, check us out. Hopefully we'll be moving over to Farechild. I'll have to talk to Rob about that. But in the meantime, we'll be on Eventbrite, and then join CLab.com. Folks, it's been another episode of Elevate Your Grind. Make sure you check out the Champs After Party on July 19th. We'll see you next time.